There is, I think, other than just being wildly overexposed, because welcome to YouTube. Hola, todo personas y bienvenidos. Bienvenidos a la noche. Yo soy Gavin Syme. We're here. Let's talk a little bit as you guys pop in there. Joe Blow, Jack, I see everybody popping in there. Shout out to the first comers, people popping onto the stream. Tommy, Hernan, Seth, Allentown, Haps. Shout out, huge shout out as always to our Patreon supporters. Thank you guys so much for keeping the Patreon growing. Thanks, Diego, for the super chat. And thanks for keeping the Patreon growing over at patreon.com/Gavin Syme. You know, the past couple nights we've talked about Blue ISIS in the USA, and we've talked about the Moses Lake Police Department, who conveniently has actually removed reviews. If you watched last night's video, thank you all. If you watched last night's video, you'll see that the reviews of the Moses Lake Police Department, the Blue ISIS thugs who are entrapping and harassing teen girls. Thank you, Jack, for the super chat. Harassing and arresting girls and then turning to mock these teenage girls on Facebook. The epitome of Blue ISIS cowards is what we see in the USA today. So people were going over there, rightly calling them out, picking up the phone. We called them live last night. That was interesting because they were trying to track down my location because they want me in Grant County, okay, because they're terrorists and because I stood up for the rule of law and human rights and called them out on their crimes. And for my speech, which was peaceful, I had to leave the USA to stay out of their concentration camp. Trail Reeves, thank you for the super chat. So that's actually not the topic, but I did want to let you know they actually disabled reviews for their page because they were getting so many negative reviews. They completely blocked me from their page. Pat Vega, thank you. And then they turned off reviews. Well, you can actually go review the city of Moses Lake as well, and I linked it in the comments of last night's video because it's the same Blue ISIS goons. All right, so let's talk about tonight's topic, and I just thought we'd hit on a few things about MACO and human rights and stuff like that. So I just wanted to make a quick comment on beer and water. Now, water, as we know, is life, okay? Water is life. Everybody has a right to water. Whether everyone has a right to beer or not, I don't know if we want to get into that, but everyone has a right to make beer, okay? However, here's the thing that I do want to warn you about in MACO. In MACO, is my lens dirty? Bear with me. Okay, good enough. I have a thing for quality optics, all right? In MACO, a bottle of water, right? Now you can buy bulk water, of course, don't get me wrong. You can get good water for cheap. But if you go buy a bottle of water at like the convenience store, it's about the same price as a beer. So you got both of these, right? What I'm saying here is that effectively, beer is the same price, maybe slightly more, depending on the beer. But we're talking about a mainstream like Dos Equis, or Corona's pretty low. That's pretty much water. Indio, Victoria, Sol, Tecate, right? Mainstream ones. So beer, I mean, you can get a beer, you know, is like 8-10 pesos for a big can of beer. A 12-ounce can would be a little less. A bottle of water going to be about the same, honestly. So beer and water, what I'm saying is that in MACO, beer and water are effectively the same price. I'm not doing that to say that you should only drink beer. I'm not a believer in getting drunk, right? Because God tells me not to get drunk. I've never been smashed in my life. I do enjoy a beer or a glass of wine or something like that, but I want my mental faculties. Even from a common sense perspective, I find, like, the morality of it aside, getting drunk is not a smart thing to do to me because I need my mind with me at all times. This right here is my most powerful tool. I don't want to inhibit that. But I like a good beer or glass of wine, isn't that right, as much as the next guy. In fact, here in Central MACO in Querétaro State, this is the Napa Valley area of MACO. This is wine and cheese central here up in Querétaro State. okay, which is nice. If you have a choice and water and wine, right? And I'm not going to go into like the debates about, oh, beer's bad. I mean, Jesus made wine and it was completely normal. Like the prudish cultural aspects of Western United States fake Christianity don't have any relevance to God's word. We should be principled and honorable, love our neighbor, follow Christ, and set a good example, and abstain from evil. But the fake piety of the fake church has nothing to do. Oh, like we do this, we have this ritual, we have this belief, we don't do that, we do this. And I'm like, yeah, but what you don't do is actually follow Jesus. What you don't do is love your neighbor. What you don't do is oppose blue ISIS. What you don't do is speak out against evil. What you don't do is resist. What you don't do is visit the prisoners. What you do is worship the state. And therefore, you're not a Christian church. You're a fascist statist church. Now, back on topic. Didn't mean to go on a rant there. Well, I guess I kind of did, but that's what we do on this show, right? So, what I'm getting at here is, in that part of the topic, is water is very important. Water should be preserved. One of the things, I don't think government has much right to control business or anything. But when someone is polluting water, like the rivers, right? When the corporate goons are dumping their pollutants in the water that everyone needs to survive, at that point, they are victimizing people. That's a little bit different. So we need less radical leftist environmentalism and more common sense and care for the world around us, if we're going to talk about that. In terms of water and beer, I'm just saying they're kind of the same price. So beware of the trap when you come to Mexico, because if I just drink, like beer's cold, right? You put a beer in the freezer for a couple hours, it's so cold that it's frozen, it just doesn't know it yet. But that's always how I prefer to drink a beer or a water or anything else for that matter. Sparkling water, I really enjoy. There's lots of that. Agua con gas. Muy bien. Muy bien. Use caution, however, because when beer is as cheap as water, or cheaper, you may be right, Padilla. When beer is as cheap as water, it's very easy to drink beer all the time. And frankly, I don't have any problem with drinking a beer, but I feel it like if you drink too much, drunkenness aside, like you don't feel as good. Sometimes you need some good clean water. So I'm just advising you, drink water too. People ask me, like, do Mexicans drink the water? A lot of the water in Mexico is fine. I know people that they're like, yeah, I've had my water tested, it's perfectly drinkable, or my water's out of a spring. So Mexico has this reputation of don't drink the water. I think most people drink, you buy big 6-liter bottled water, so you like Seal or something like that. And then you have a little dispenser, and that's the very common way to drink the water. But in reality, I think in most areas, if you drank the water, it'd probably be fine. It may be more a question of the pipes than the source. But yes, the general consensus is if you come here, drink bottled water, but you don't have to, there's a mosquito on my phone, you don't have to buy single bottles of water. I mean, water gets a lot cheaper if you buy a big container of it, so it's not a big deal, but that's kind of the deal with beer and water. If you're somewhere for a long time, you can of course have your water tested and see if it's drinkable. But generally, I just get the bottled water. It tastes good, and a nice beer is good. Just don't drink too much beer. Okay, so what was our topic tonight? Beer, water, and borders. It rhymed with beer, and so I thought that was good. But since I'm down here in Mexico and they're treating me good, I did want to let you guys know that this border sham, all this border walls and locking us in fact, one of the things I was going to do, I remember now, wow, what's that? I was watching something about YouTube. One of the things I was going to do is un poco momento, okay? I forgot to bring the video up that I was going to show you guys, and I'm going to bring that up. It's in my primary 12 terabyte hard drive, which is my media core. That's where I work from. Always back up, all right? I shouldn't even have to tell you to back up your files. All right? Okay, so what I'm going to show you guys, where'd it go? Bear with me, I'm getting there. I'm sorry, I was going to have this done, and let me just search for it. That's going to be a lot quicker. Here we go. I was going to have this organized. Thank you all. I do appreciate those prayers. I need that watch because fake security doesn't keep you safe. Okay, so what I was going to show you here is this. When I left the USA, bear with me. Oh, for heaven's sake. Okay, here we go. I will edit this out later, all right? So I got it now. When I left the USA, I had a dash cam. But I left the USA, I drove something like 18 hours straight. And I escaped the USA, I crossed the border, and I didn't know what was going to happen because there are exit stations and infrastructure to prevent people from leaving the country because the USA is not a free country, it is a fascist regime, and it's getting worse all the time. So we talked a little bit just about casual things in Mako, like the water and the beer and stuff like that. But the borders are very important because as we see them building this narrative of fake borders, right? Fake border restrictions, fake narratives of terrorists or Mexicans are doing this or Muslims are doing this, when in fact, Blue ISIS is the number one terrorist organization in the USA, bar none on the numbers, okay? When in reality, our government are the criminals. Doesn't mean there's not bad people out there elsewhere, but when there is, usually our government is working with them, not against them. It's like the drug trafficking in the USA. The Border Patrol and the government does not want to stop drug trafficking. They just want to make sure they're the ones in control of it and making the money. So we could do a whole video on that, which could be dangerous, but do some research on that. Okay, so when you have fake patriots, right, and they're talking about, I want there to be border restrictions. I want Mexicans going to jail. I want there to be a wall. These are people that are either A, working for the fascist globalist elite machine, or B, are just so completely out of touch with history, the Constitution, human rights, and freedom that they just believe whatever propaganda crap is hurled at their screens from Fox News or CNN or MSNBC. It really makes no difference. It's all propaganda. So I just did an article, and for those, I will link it in here below, because I get sick of these fake patriots, and they're all like, what are you talking about? Illegal immigrants are ruining it. Did you guys know that 50 years ago, the concept of an immigrant being arrested was like absurd in any large sense? Did you know that 100 years ago, there was basically no restrictions on immigration? Did you know that before the Civil War, there was no such thing as an immigration law? Because the Constitution strictly forbids the federal government from being involved in immigration at all. Every immigration law in the USA is 100% illegal, every enforcement, and even constitutions aside, the idea that someone can be arrested for traveling and living as a human being, anyone who supports that is not a patriot, they are pure fascist. So the pure, self-entitled, racist, I'm better than everyone else because America, and oh, well, I'm just mad that they're coming here because they're taking away my socialist programs from my kid, right? It's total BS. On that note, though, this can be very well proven historically. The founders were quite clear on this. There's no question constitutionally that any sort of travel and immigration restriction is completely illegal. Okay, these aren't laws. These are fake laws. These are treason. Our nation was founded on open borders. The founding fathers were absolutely for open borders. And anyone who says they weren't is either lying to you outright or is simply not bothered to study history. The idea that borders would be restricted did not even enter into the consideration of the legal system. There was no law. The entire constitutional ruling on becoming a citizen, not immigration, because the founders were very clear, there was no restriction on that, okay? The only thing that the federal government had authority over was, read my lips, naturalization, which they clarified very specifically, as does the dictionary. This has nothing to do with immigration. It is the process of becoming a citizen, which comes years after immigrating. Now, why am I saying all this? Well, because borders was one of our topic, and I wanted to make a connection with what I'm about to show you. Because what I'm about to show you is what the propaganda is really about. The propaganda is about allowing you to think this is okay. Let's take a look. This is the area that I escaped in. Now, I said I had a dash cam, but the problem is I was so relieved. There was such a huge burden off of me when I got out that I didn't actually retrieve the footage from the dash cam till later, and it had written over the actual crossing by a couple minutes. So thanks to some people that watched the channel, I put a shout out, and some guys got me some video of some different crossings, and I would actually like to collect videos of all the crossings across the USA and keep track of those so that people that are trying to escape know what they're dealing with. Now let's look at the crossing here down by Nahales and see what we see. This is approaching. Now we're on the US side, okay? We're on the US side where people pretend they're patriots by using the word illegals and walls and support the blue line. But always remember that the same people that think there's illegal aliens and that are saying that, you know, people should be in prison because they crossed your line in the sand, those are the same people supporting Blue ISIS, the #1 terrorist organization in the US. There's absolutely no such thing as an illegal alien. And I just did an article on my Steemit this week that proves that historically, as well as just from the natural law perspective. If you go to steemit.com/Gavin Syme, follow me over there and check out that article. Let's see our view as we approach the border. Now, I want you to look at this infrastructure on the exit station. Here's the first wave of steel gates that are closed to keep people from leaving. Now, you notice how this is built up, okay? This is actually, the infrastructure is more severe than we saw in Berlin, you know, and people try and escape there. And you'll see this gate's closed here. You have cameras everywhere, you have sensors. Now, I'm not saying it's unreasonable to have a mild monitor at the border to make sure there's not, like, you know, a bunch of tanks rolling through. That, you know, it's okay to watch for a real invasion. But this narrative that an individual coming through to try and live or get a job or anything like that is an invasion is utter foolishness, completely absurd. Okay, let's continue. We approach this gate. Now, this gate could be closed to keep you from leaving, #1. You come up. As you're coming up, they're scanning you with all of these cameras. I want you to understand something. This is the exit of the USA. This is not coming into the country, and I want to be very clear. This is the infrastructure to leave the USA. You are a prisoner in your country, and everyone who's pimping for the globalist elite agenda of walls and illegal immigrants and blah, 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 they are the ones that are promoting this. They are the ones that have made our country Nazi Germany. And it's okay to call them out. It's okay. If you believe this, I understand that it's hard to get over our old preconceptions, but it's time to start being ashamed of those beliefs and start changing them. Having a secure border has nothing to do with molesting people at the border in either direction. You have no right to stop anyone, period, or know where they're going unless they're doing something that exhibits probable cause of a crime. Fact. And if you don't believe that, you don't believe in natural law, and you don't believe in the Constitution. So stop pretending you're a patriot. Let's continue our little journey across the border. Now, these are not always men. You see those lights flashing, right? It's taking photos. It's tracking you. okay? Infrastructure, gates. Now, these aren't always manned. Some of the exit stations actually have people standing there to question you upon leaving your country. Now, you notice what's going on. They have sharp turns, they have bumps. Wait till you get up here. This is direct out of Germany. Hard turns in the road to make it so you cannot go through quickly. 90-degree right turn. I will never forget escaping the USA, the terrorism of my government, the officials of Grant County, the federal government. I will never forget escaping and stopping at this sign right here and saying, what do we do? Are we supposed to go? Stop, stop. And then I realized, what am I thinking? I'm not gonna wait for someone to tell me I can't go, and I hit the gas and no one chased me. It wasn't manned. There was nobody out there. Okay? Imagine what it's gonna be like in a few years when it's actually illegal to leave your own country without implicit permission. Okay, as we come around the corner, all these corners and turns, right? This is a roundabout over here, back to the USA. This, notice the road gets straight. Okay, here we go. Now you're coming up, still in the US, getting ready to switch over. You see the barriers kind of change. You come into this tight area. Again, a tight area where it's congested and hard to get through, okay? You're coming around right on the border line now. So at this point, I believe this is the US side and this is the Mexico side. It's hard to express the emotions this brings in me. Okay, I came around this corner and I'm like, am I free? Did we escape? I had no idea what was gonna happen, you guys. So you come around the corner. I come around the corner and I see this sign that says, Bienvenidos a Mexico. And I didn't know what to do or whether I was supposed to stop. So I just stopped and a Mexican guy's like, hola, amigo. Ultimately, you'll see in the video, my video on leaving starts right at this sign right here, okay? In this case, he's going in the other direction. Now you notice on the entry, there's a little infrastructure. There really shouldn't be, okay? Now we're on the Mexico side. Now, have you ever come back into the US, you're questioned and grilled and treated like dirt? You're always questioned when you come back into the US. You are occasionally asked some questions, or maybe they look at what you're bringing in when you enter Mexico. In this case, the light flashes green, you just keep driving. There's not a person in sight, you just drive. Okay, you're now in Mexico. You've crossed the border. That's it, guys. That's the entry into Mexico. Now you're in Mexico, the roads open up, right? Now you can go down the road a ways and you can get an official visa, a permit that makes your car legit, right? But the reality is people that just want to come into that town and visit Mexico for the day, nobody's going to give them trouble. In fact, the state of Sonora, where this particular crossing and many others are, actually openly kind of rebels against Mexico's requirement of you even needing papers at all, because they say it damages their tourism trade. And they basically say, hey, if you're in our state, we're not worried about it, okay? Now, let's look at one more before we wrap up tonight. And that's the other one at the Nahales border. There's another exit, okay? The one you just saw was kind of a side one. It was like the truck exit, guys. Here is the other exit at that same city. Note the infrastructure. On this one, you actually have, again, this is not entering the country. Understand that. This is leaving the country. See these terrorists right here? Monitoring you leaving the country. Up here are gates, bars. In this case, right, they're not questioning everybody yet. They're just observing to make sure only the people leave the country that want to. More infrastructure, making it hard for you to get through. Could you run that gate at full speed? Probably, maybe. Would it damage your car? Yes. These gates can be closed to lock down the border. Have you noticed a pattern here? Every one of these has gates heavy gates to lock down the border to prevent anyone from leaving the country. Does anyone believe, okay, now we're crossing over. This one's actually a little bit more brief, but it's a little more scary because it's manned a little heavier. Okay, you're coming up to the Mexican side. There's the symbol coming into Mexico. Here's the sign. There's a stop and go light, and you wait a little. Most of the time, I think they actually have a random thing where every now and then they check a car. Other than that, you're entering the country. You just go right through, right? The gates pop open. There's a few people. On this entrance, there's a few Mexicans standing around. There's a chica there observing, right? There's a little bit of pathway to get in. Now, bear in mind, a lot of the infrastructure you see going into Mexico is just security theater because the U.S. is bribing them to try and play the game. Even at that, these people aren't even being questioned, right, entering Mexico. Are you understanding that? Is it just me? Are you guys understanding? Is it just me? Or are people understanding that you just witnessed a terrorist fascist nation setting up infrastructure to lock you in your country versus a nation where it's easier to enter their country than it is to leave yours? I hope you guys are understanding what you're seeing here. I hope you're getting this, because we're so brainwashed. If you're not understanding what you're just seeing, it's because you're so brainwashed by a fascist state. And I sympathize, I was there once, by a fascist state, that you think this kind of behavior at your borders is okay, that you think it has to do with safety or freedom, okay? The people supporting this are red coat anti-freedom loyalists. Thank you, White Mage. All right, and you guys need to understand that. Your neighbors need to understand that. There is no permission in the Constitution or natural law or human rights to do this, to restrict travel through a border. Everyone has a right to travel. They have a right to work. They have a right to water. And with that water, they have a right to make beer. And that's a fact. Let me see if I can say this in Spanish, and you Spanish speakers can tell me if I'm kind of getting it right. La trabajo de la gubernancia es todo por la protección de vida y libertad y propiedad. Es todo, nada más. The job of the government, in total, is the protection of life, liberty, and property, and no more. When you have a government that's molesting people at the border, that's preventing them, or saying they're illegal for being human beings, for coming to work, to live, to drink water, when you have a government that says it's okay to lock people in cages, in for-profit prisons, to put them in prison for years for simply crossing a line in the sand. But worse, when you have a people that pretends to be Christians, patriots, and freedom lovers, who scoffs, mocks, and laughs and supports the imprisonment of those people, of their neighbors, of the for-profit prisons, of the fake charges, the fake courts, the fake felonies, the fake violations of rights. You are also the enemy of freedom. You don't follow Jesus. You don't follow law. You don't love liberty. And if you're in this state and you want to love liberty, you need to repent. You need to stop listening to the propaganda. You need to stop listening to the lies. You need to start loving your neighbor and learn what it means to have law, to have freedom, to have justice. These are not law enforcement. These are terrorists. And it's time for people to start speaking to and regarding them as such. And anyone from Trump to Obama to your congressman to your local city council that backs Blue ISIS, that backs the for-profit prisons, that backs the abuse of the immigrant, the fatherless, the widow. Thank you, Motor Joe. Anyone who does this, if you pretend that they're righteous, if you wish them success in their deeds, you're partaker in their crimes, and you are complicit. We've gone on for about a half hour tonight. I think I'm going to go play Uno. The kids want to play Uno with me, so I'm going to go. You guys, thank you all. I hope you will think about this. I hope you'll share this. I'll be doing more videos showing you these crossings. Maybe we'll do a vlog entry on that. Of course, you guys can support the Patreon. Thank you for all our shout outs for the taco money here in the super chat. I always appreciate that. I think of that in terms of tacos when I get it in here. So thank you guys. That's taco dinner for the fam. Patreon.com/Gavin Syme. Thank you all. You can also follow me on Instagram, and you can see things like this, like my Sandra trying out 80s Mexican hairstyles, or me going to get milk in a Coke bottle for 60 cents. There's my buddy Titus. That is the Bug Slayer right there, all right? That's the Bug Slayer. That's my buddy. And of course, photos from around town and my professional work, modeling stuff. I went bike riding the other day and with some locals. Good for my language to do a little, thanks Diego, good for my language to do a little bike riding. This is a little slow-mo and of one of my biking buddies. We actually went on probably a 10-mile mountain bike ride. It was pretty sweet. So these are things you can see on my Instagram as well. So go follow that, Instagram.com/Gavin Syme. You can also find me on Facebook at Facebook.com/Gavin Syme. And thank you all. Thank you for the subs. Shout out. I would start shouting out names, but it could go on forever. So usually I only shout out names in the beginning of the show, the first people that get on, except for the super chatters. I always shout out you guys because I appreciate the tacos, okay? So $1, think of $1 as 2 tacos, right? So like when people give me $1, I'm like, thanks for the 2 tacos, all right? You guys, I appreciate your support. Speak out, love your neighbor, stand up, resist Blue ISIS, and we will see you right here on this channel, maybe not at this same time and same place, but on this channel next time. I'm gonna go I put some Coke. I put one of those bottles of Coke in the freezer earlier. I think I'm gonna go have that and play Uno with mi niños. Buenas noches, mi compadres. La verdad.